Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews. And today we're giving you guys our first impressions of the new album from Evile titled Hell Unleashed. that good luck editing that out.
I waited till you were done.
That was close.
Okay, we'll see. Maybe I'll leave it in.
Alright, so Evile. I know they've been gone for a while, right?
Yeah, I think they took a hiatus or something, I don't know.
But they're back with a new album, Hell Unleashed. Now, we've checked them out a little bit on the channel before, but they were only two reactions to two singles. We really enjoyed both of them. I'm really excited for this album. I'm sure you are as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be dope. The two singles were awesome. I've been a fan of this band for a while. I don't know all of their stuff. I'm not a huge fan or anything, but since Enter the Grave, I've been listening to these guys, so...
See, for me, this is really going to be my first, focused album experience with Evile. I know after we checked out the music videos, I think you put on Enter the Grave, we checked it out a little bit. I liked what I heard, but this is going to be my first focused, listen to the band. And I remember when we checked out, the first single, we reacted to it, it was pretty much my first impression of the band entirely. So they made a good mark, at least as for my taste.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be good. Again, this album came out last week, but we were doing Gojira last week, so we're a little bit late to the party on this one, but still excited nonetheless.
With that being said, we're going to check out Hell Unleashed for the very first time in its entirety, and we're going to be right back to give you guys our first impressions, so stay put. Alright guys, we just listened to Hell Unleashed for the very first time in its entirety, and I guess I'll take the floor and say this album was pretty good. From what I do know, of course, these guys are pretty intense thrash metal, but honestly, and this might be a bit of a bold statement that, I guess we kind of agreed on during the listening session, but perhaps progressive thrash metal?
It definitely has an element to it.
Now, to explain that, it's the kind of album, a lot of the songs, and we'll take, for example, the first track, Paralyzed, has so many different sections to it. Typically, when you have, super duper fast, crazy thrash metal, it's kind of 2 minutes of one thing, and then maybe a little bridge or a little solo, and that's kind of it. But these songs are pushing 4 or 5 minutes.
Sometimes more, yeah.
And sometimes more. And Paralyzed has so many different sections that I'm making notes on, oh yeah, this is a cool thing. Oh, now they're doing something completely different. And then on top of that, and they go all around and do so many different things. It's interesting. You don't usually ever see that in thrash metal.
Yeah, so just to clarify, it doesn't sound like progressive metal, but it's got progressive type of elements that kind of are unique to the genre that we find.
Exactly. That song is one of my favorites, by the way, Paralyzed, and I think part of the reason is that, but I also think it's a really good intro. Based on everything I kind of heard, only heard it once, but I feel like Paralyzed kind of throws everything at you, just to give you an idea of okay, this is what we're all about on this album, all these different things you're going to find, and it's pretty cool. I also really like track number 6, The Thing, 1982. I found that it's there was a really cool intro going on where the drummer plays a tiny little bit on his ride, which there was a pretty good amount of that. Very pingy, lots of ride bell. I love when I hear that. What else? I noted that may have been the fastest song so far. I think a song or two after may have matched the speed. I'm not entirely sure. Because I only heard it once, but
yeah.
Another thing that happened in that song is that the solo extends throughout a different section. Usually, you'll play this bridge or whatever, this specific section for the solo section, maybe kind of outfitted over the verse section, but kind of the solo just keeps going through a different section. And I thought that was so cool. I love that. It
changes too. It's not the same solo that extends. It's
it changes with the rest of it, yeah.
It changes with the rest of it, yeah. So the solo's got this it's just not a blazing fast solo, the first part of it, but then it gets kind of into that at the end when it changes, so that's also cool.
The other two tracks that I also really liked, I guess they got the same highest ratings, was tracks number 8 and 9, Control From Above, and the title track. The title track is one of the ones we did react to, so I had a little bit of familiarity with that track, and I still really like it. The solo probably might be my favorite solo on the album, but I find the solos are pretty comparable between each other. They're really good solos, but it's I was kind of struggling to really pick out many differences between them. It's kind of like the same general thing throughout them. But Control From Above had a little bit of kind of melody in the guitar riff, which I thought was really cool and somewhat unique for this album as well. And I really like the solo in that one too. So like overall, I'm finding really cool things. The only songs that I really didn't like as much, and it's not that I didn't like them, it's just that I didn't have much to say about them. The main one was War of Attrition, which is track number 4. It just kind of felt like, okay, pretty straightforward, right, and standard. But that's it. I find on albums like this, where there's a lot of really interesting and standout moments, the songs that are just kind of straight up good are like the lesser ones because they don't have those moments, right?
It's interesting because War of Attrition was one of my highest rated tracks. I think a lot of the things I liked about this was drum related. Even though thrash tends to be a very guitar centric genre, there's a lot of really cool guitaring on this as far as riffing, just shredding and soloing. But I feel like this drummer has he's got kind of like a think outside the box kind of style, where he's doing a lot of things you don't typically hear in thrash, at least as much as this. And it really gives a lot of character and personality to the songs, and it kind of like, thrash is one of those genres, we've talked about this before, where it can feel like a bit of a stagnant genre. A lot of the bands kind of sound the same in a lot of ways. There's not a lot of variety in the music and in the flavor of the songs. But this album, at least on a first impression, kind of throws that all out the window. This album sounds very fresh. It sounds like a revitalization of the genre in a way.
Which is impressive because we've seen a lot of times on our channel where we kind of feel like, you know, we cover a thrash album, band or whatever, and kind of feel like it's the same thing. This feels fresh and new, and it's breathing life into it.
Yeah, and I'm at least for now crediting that to the drummer and his style. There's just a lot of really cool rhythmic grooves he does, changes up the pace a lot of cool things. You talked about riding the bell a lot, which he does a lot of little fancy things on the bell, different kinds of bells, you hear different sounds here and there, just really cool stuff.
I did in fact write on War of Attrition that the drums are really tight, and I guess that's pretty much a note for the whole album, really.
Exactly. So War of Attrition was a highlight track for me. Paralyzed was also a highlight track for me. One interesting thing I'll point out, I think Paralyzed and Hell Unleashed, so track 1 and track 9, should be flipped, just because of the titles alone. Track number 1 should be Hell Unleashed. This album's getting started, we're unleashing hell. And Paralyzed, well, when you're paralyzed, you aren't really moving much anymore, so it's kind of the end. I think they just, name-wise, they should have been switched, but, I mean, that's nothing. That's not a criticism. Zombie Apocalypse, track number 7. This was a bit of an odd one, okay? I liked the song. It got a 5 rating for me, because we do rate the song like fake ratings. When I give a song a 5, it's because I don't exactly know how I feel about it. It's just a middle of the pack score, just whatever. Changes the pace, okay? This is kind of like a slower song, changes the pace a lot. It's got this weird, like, this is one of the ones where he's hitting the bell.
Yeah. But
it sounds like a WWF bell, like the match is over, like ding, 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 ring the bell. That's what it sounds like to me. But the weird thing about this song is it's the shortest song in the album. It's 2.5 minutes long. And typically, the short songs on the album are usually like the fast songs, right? Where the songs are, they just go blazing fast and they can only hold that stamina for a couple minutes, so they're doing it for a couple minutes and that's it. Bam, it's done. This one, slow and steady wins the race. But whatever.
I mean, there were some fast sections, but yeah, I kind of like the slower sections on the song more, but it's really weird to consider that, because I have a similar opinion to you on the song, but for me it's like, okay, the slow sections are cool, but the rest of it's kind of like, fine. So I also gave it a 5, but it's the standard length for thrash metal songs, but it's the shortest, you know? Like, it's the only song that's really that length. Everything else is around like 4+. I just find that really interesting, that especially because it's one of the slower songs too.
Yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. Whatever.
With the slow song, it's standard length. Like, that's how you know it's crazy.
Yeah, the rest of the album, though, like, just some really fast alternate picking. There's really good guitaring throughout. Vocally, I'd like to make comments about the vocals, but honestly, on first impressions, I don't have a lot to say. I feel like they were good. They were sufficient, but nothing really stood out to me vocally. but that's not really a bad thing. It didn't bore me. It didn't sound repetitive or anything like that.
I think that's actually a really big good thing about the vocals on this album is that it is repetitive, but not to a fault. Like, it sounds the same throughout the album, but there's no problem with it. You can listen to, you know, Drake's voice throughout the whole album and not have an issue with it. It just it fits perfectly with what he's singing about, with just the tone of the whole album. Like, it's a good fit for the music.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to enjoy listening to it through the week. Looking forward to analyzing it more, picking it apart, trying to find little things here and there, special things here and there in songs that I didn't catch the first time. But I'm specifically going to pay attention to Zombie Apocalypse to really kind of pick that one apart a little bit to see if I like it or not.
That'll be interesting.
But I have a feeling I will like it.
Yeah, and we're going to listen to this album constantly over and over and over and over, and we'll be back next week to give you guys our final review of Hell Unleashed. I would say it's pretty good from both of us on a first impression.
Yep.
So we'll see if it stands the test of time over the course of the week. Anyway, guys, that's all we got for you today. Remember to like the video if you liked it and comment. Tell us in the comments below. I guess this album's been out already, so tell us what you think. It's been out for about, I guess, a week or two.
A week
or so. So we'll be right back. And remember, subscribe if you guys are new. I'm TV Fish.
And I'm Bile Self.
And we'll see you guys later.